Hello and welcome to Shop Franklin Supporting Small Business, where we work to raise awareness of and build community around Franklin's local, independently owned businesses. My name is Sarah Mabardi, and with me today I have 3 generations of the Simon family of Simon's Furniture. So thank you for all coming in.
Thanks for having us.
So we have George, who is the patriarch of the family, Kirk, and Jared.
Yes, thanks for having us, Sarah.
Thank you. And it's my understanding that Simon's has been around for a little while. Just a little while.
Yeah, I represent the 5th generation, and I'm happy to have the 3rd and 4th along with us as well.
Mm-hmm.
The store was started by my grandfather in 1911.
1911.
Prior to that, he was a peddler, and the family lived in West Medway, and up till 1892 moved to North Franklin in 1893. And the reason they were there as a peddler, there was a trolley line, horse-drawn trolleys that went from Milford all the way down what was Village Street in Medway by Bellingham and Hartford Avenue, and into Village Street in Medway, and then on to all the way to Millis, and probably beyond. But
And in the 1890s, going from Milford and Bellingham to Medway, Franklin, Millis, isn't the jaunt that it is now, where you can get there maybe in 10, 15 minutes. So a horse-drawn carriage.
Yeah, it took some time. It took some time, and and so when my grandfather, along with his eldest son David, decided to open the store in Franklin, they needed to move into sort of downtown, in the general area of downtown, so they could walk to work instead of being in West Medway or North Franklin. And so that was in probably 1910 or 1909. They moved to Franklin, rented a house, and then my grandfather built a house in Franklin. Took them a couple of years to get it built, around 1911, and then they had the store downtown, which was somewhere, I believe the original store was across from where the post office is today.
Okay.
Almost near on the 2nd floor, near where the Franklin School of Performing Arts is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, second
Up on
floor.
there.
It was on the 2nd floor.
So it's been in a few different places from where it is now.
Yes.
So horse-drawn carriage. So it was, I mean, you're the first delivery service, let's say.
Yes.
So delivery.
No, they delivered in a horse and wagon. They did.
See,
They did.
that's convenient.
Yeah, they
And
did.
then moved to the 2nd floor downtown, across from the post office.
No, that was where the first store was.
The first store was.
Yeah, the first store.
Okay.
Yeah. And previously, as peddlers, he had notions, fabrics, needles, threads, needles, that kind of stuff. And then he was peddling on the line, which was from Milford through Millis. And the reason you could reach wherever you were going quite easily was because of the horse-drawn trailers, carriages, trolleys.
And Franklin and that whole area is a huge mill community, right?
Yes,
So the mill
yes.
buildings that we talked about on the Plain
Right.
Street line over by
Yeah, so the mills
the
were
Medway, Bellingham, where they all intersect, and also the Hayward Mill Building in Franklin. And then there's also on 109, the mill buildings in Medway. So was it a big textile?
There was a lot of credit, too. Going back.
No, that's an interesting question. Over in West Medway, there was a mill where they made, I'm trying to think what it was, not thimbles, but what would you call when you had the mills that had the wooden pieces that turned around are
A
called?
lathe?
No. It was right. The mill was right in. That was a mill. It was right in West Medway. No. It was something you used in the mill industry. It was like a spool. Nope, you haven't come up with the right name
All right,
yet.
by the end of the episode, we're going to figure this out.
Yeah,
Or
right.
most of the mills
Anyway,
in
leave
Franklin,
that alone, huh?
straw hat mills and felt
Oh,
mills.
but no,
that's
but when
right.
you're mixing up where
We can start over if none of this
there.
applies to
No, in Franklin, he wasn't peddling in Franklin, which was a huge mill center, and you know where all the mills were and are, which are basically on the train lines there. The mills out where he was quite a ways out, because you're all the way over in West Medway.
Yeah.
So he was living there and going up and down Village Street and Hartford Avenue is the area they were on.
Okay.
They weren't peddling in Franklin. Then they opened the store in Franklin,
Okay.
and there were stores in Franklin. Actually.
Franklin was a big urban center back then.
Well, I wouldn't quite use that
Compared to
expression,
West
urban
Medway?
center.
It's all relative.
It is now.
Well, no, it's a relatively large town. I remember my father telling me that, after World War II, there were about 7,500 people living in Franklin, and there were the same amount there around the turn of the century. With all the mills, and there was a straw hat mill that Kurt mentioned, and
That's right.
a lot of woolen mills. There were a lot of mills. If the pictures are still floating around of all those mills that were on the rail line, so it didn't change. The population didn't change for 50 years. Right?
Yeah.
And as the business moved from West Medway being a kind of a almost like a travel to you business and into a retail storefront, we still maintained customers up towards West Medway and up towards Milford area.
Down towards Millis.
And was that on the collection route that you used to work on when you were
That's right.
in the
Yeah,
1980s as well?
Left over from the peddling days were people whose houses you went to and you sold them merchandise, just like the peddler did, and then you collected weekly from them as you stopped off at their house. And we had those routes right up through when Kirk first went to work in the business.
Really?
Maybe in the early 80s, that's about when
Wow.
we stopped doing that. I had a question for you. You said if the deliveries were done by a horse-drawn wagon, where did you keep the horse?
That's a good question.
Well, I assume the horse was kept when they moved into town. Where they lived in the Core House.
On Main Street?
No, that was on Oak Street.
Okay.
And there were farms and barns, and that was a farmhouse, and I assume there was a barn attached to the house. I'm sure there was, and that's where the horse stayed.
So your dad didn't have to buy you a horse when you were a kid because
You had one.
you had one for...
No, I was a kid a lot later than.
Oh, I see.
He postdates the horse-drawn
That's
carriage.
right. There were cars that was even running water and electricity when George was a kid.
Did they have that when you were a kid?
Of course,
You think so? So here we have a picture of one of the old locations of Simon's Furniture.
Yes, that's right.
So Furniture and Rugs, A. Simon and Sons. So remind me, who's the A?
So A is for Abraham, which I have another picture of now. I can show you.
Yeah.
This is Abraham. So this is my great grandfather,
Okay.
who was the one who was the original.
great-great-grandfather.
My great great grandfather, who was the peddler.
Okay.
Who originally started the company. So so he is A. Simon, and we're the and sons. Well, and these are his and sons, which are Uncle Harry, my great grandfather Morris, which is George's father,
Okay.
and David, which is Morris's oldest son. The three of
Oldest
them
brother.
Abraham's
oldest
son. Yeah. So the three of them ran the company. After that,
Harry was a selectman in town back in the day, too.
Really?
Yeah, around
The old politician.
1931, I believe, he was a selectman.
So you guys are entrenched in Franklin culture and history.
Apparently.
Yes.
Apparently. That's what you get when you've been around for a while?
Yeah.
Yes.
For a while.
So in the early 1900s through 1930, they lived in the store was located downtown on Main Street, and then they moved at one point over the train tracks to where 5040 Central Street is, which is where our current storefront is on 140 in Franklin. And I'm sure you remember what was the big controversy at the time we built when 54
Oh, I know. You
Central
told me
Street.
that. The comment was, will you be able to survive this far outside the center of town?
That's
Oh,
right.
wow.
So when we moved,
No, that's what my grandfather said to my Uncle Dave. He said, and he also said, remember, that's our old building, which is about 3,000 square feet on the one floor, about 3,600 square feet on the floor. And there was a second floor that wasn't finished, and then there was a basement. And whereas my grandfather said to Uncle Dave, who built it, Dave, what are you going to do with such a big building?
Fill it with furniture.
Yeah, well, there wasn't much
enough.
choice then. If you think about it, that you had the stoves, you had two different kinds of stoves, and you had linoleum rugs. They had there. In fact, too bad we didn't have that advertisement somewhere around now. Had an advertising sheet, linoleum rugs, like 19 cents, I think. Or something.
Oh, wow.
And then there were the rocking chairs, those kind of rocking chairs, and they were about $1.50, I guess. I too, we don't have that with us. You see that it was kind of crumpled, newsprint, with the advertising on it, and. So with some unexpected. How many different sofas did you have?
Well, I
there
can
was many
attest that
choices.
Simon's Furniture has many different sofas, as I spent a good 2 months harassing the staff, and I finally picked out my favorite, beautiful Bassett, nice taupe color, tan, going for a beach scene, blues and tans, and then I came home with a black leather sectional. Yes. And I think I looked at and sat in every single sofa in the store. But that's called marriage. And one day you come home with a black leather sectional. And I love my black leather sectional.
Does your husband like it? That's even more important.
He does.
That's
He
right.
does. And to his credit, I have 2 boys, 8 and 4.5 right now, and when they spill food on it, it does. It just wipes right off. And I actually do think that maybe a khaki cotton sofa would not have been as easy to
Not
make.
as practical, yeah.
Yeah, not as practical. So 10 years from now, when they have their own apartments, I will get my light beachy
Cream
scene
color
They're
sofa.
boys, right?
Now
Don't
we
they
have-
stay home till they're 30 or something?
We have
You have yet to find out, right?
No, my guys have moved out. They're
Ah,
good.
you're good.
we have some practical fabrics now. You may have seen or heard them. Umbrella fabrics, which Jared can tell you
Yes.
about. We
I
sell a
looked
lot
at
of those now.
every single. So speaking
Those-
to the
so
idea
those
that
clean up
at the
easily.
turn of the century, there's how many sofas can you choose from? So what are you
Very
going to
few.
do with 10,000 square feet of space on 3
Well,
floors?
the second floor wasn't finished, and the basement was just storage. So it was really just the first
The
floor.
first floor.
And my grandfather still thought that was a huge amount of
So
space.
that's the
in-
space that you're in now?
Yeah, and in
That's the old
comparison,
building.
that older building that you see from 140, that was the
Yeah.
original building built in 1931 that was built for the store. Now that goes on and is attached to our building, which is onto Summer Street.
Exactly.
The total buildings, so back when we first built that, when my great grandfather or great uncle built that building in 1931, and we expanded on. That building was 3,000 square feet. Now the showroom in total is over 30,000 square feet.
Wow.
So it's grown 10
And it
times.
still
the
seems
size.
too small now. We don't have as much space as we'd like.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you go downstairs to the appliance section, I mean, you can choose one of 30 different refrigerators. And I think that's important to note. You guys carry a lot of stuff. But I don't want to I want to come back to the history, but appliances, furniture, upholsters, mattresses, rugs, accessories. I'm forgetting one.
Lamps,
Lamps,
artwork.
you name it, you guys have it.
If you need it for your home, we have it in stock.
or you can find it.
Yes.
What was that
sure.
always the case, or was it strictly upholstered furniture and rugs?
You can see even on the picture over here, it says talking about we have bedding, draperies advertised on there. You can even see there's a really cool picture of inside the showroom. Here, you can see where the whole town showed up. So there's lamps, pictures, and everything.
And that really is the whole town.
That's the whole town. The whole town was in
We
the
squeezed
whole town.
7,500 people in there.
Squeezed 7,500 people on the first floor, so
I
it looks a
love
little
it.
different without the walls up. But
Jared, if you go back to the previous picture, one of the my favorite stories that you've told me over the years, we've changed merchandise that we sell. So we used to have things before I was born, like blinds for windows,
Venetian
folding card
blinds.
tables and folding chairs, and televisions when they first came out in the 1940s, but not upgraded televisions. So the way it was told to me, if you can picture this showroom window, when we would close the store in the evening, all the guys would come around in their suits with their fedoras, and they'd disassemble whatever was shown in the window there for display,
Yeah.
and they'd set up the folding chairs with a TV, and they'd watch the Friday night fights.
Friday
Oh,
night
wow.
fights on television.
So it looks like something out of
Furniture
Back
store,
to the Future.
Gentlemen's Club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We borrowed all the folding chairs from the Undertaker. That's true.
Who was your next door neighbor, right? Like, who just lived right in town. Everyone did everything for everybody.
Sure.
A little bit more of a community and come together. That's awesome. Should we bring that back?
I think so.
I think we should. I think cocktail hour at Simon's Furniture.
Right in the front, right in the front windows,
I think so. All right, watch for that. Your next Shop Franklin event.
live.
All right, so here's the whole town of Franklin. So that's your existing space, and that's your front door on 140 in the
Yes.
back?
Yep.
Okay.
That's Uncle Dave on the left there.
And there's Uncle Dave.
Where's Uncle Dave?
On the
Dressed-
far left.
They say all
Over
dressed
here?
up.
Yeah, all dressed up, right.
So it's kind of cool, and you can see in the
That is neat.
it's really interesting looking in the showroom, being able to see, and you can recognize when you look in the building from the same angle, you can see the same pipes and the same posts supporting the
Really?
building. So it's really kind of cool that it's lasted this long. I think it would be.
We have
interesting.
changed the cosmetics a bit.
Yeah, a little bit. What's also interesting is I have a sales order actually from 1942 from a customer whose whole home we did. So you were asking
Wow.
about the segments that we sold. We had electric washers, which was very big in 1942 because you weren't having to wring it out by hand anymore.
Oh, wow.
So it's very interesting that this woman who just got married on Cottage Street was able to furnish her entire house for $938 in 1942.
Yeah, my sectional was a little bit more than that.
Just a tad.
Just a tad. But look at that maple bed, maple dresser, mattress, dining suite, a 9-piece dining suite. Is that $140? Wow.
I think so.
Yeah. You can get
And I have no doubt this was all made by hand, furniture, solid wood,
all coming
quality.
from New England, actually.
Wow.
And it was interesting because I remember you both have told me that in the early turn of the century, furniture manufacturing was big up north. And what happened is it kind of slowly shifted down south as it was expensive to manufacture up here, but we still had textiles. So you had a lot of upholstery manufacturers up until the 70s and 80s almost as the manufacturing shifted down south, they'd drive up with full truckloads of furniture and then deliver the furniture up here and then backhaul fabric down south to the manufacturers.
The fabric mills in Fall River and Tewksbury and those areas.
Interesting.
Not anymore, though.
But there's not much manufacturing done around here nowadays. But what's nice is we've been able to start exploring other New England sources for furniture. So we actually have a dining room manufacturer who's actually based in Massachusetts up in Winchendon. We have another company, Thor's Elegance. They're based in Vermont. So we have these companies that are now New England based that we're kind of getting now back in business with, who offer stuff like solid maple produced in Vermont and solid cherry produced in Massachusetts, which consumers are really looking for nowadays. That shop local, buy local, source local.
Absolutely. And that's something that you guys really stand behind is, we'll talk a little bit later about quality of furniture, but made in the USA, quality source, durable furniture, things that are going to last and that are built well. I know that's something that you guys stand behind, is really trying to go and visit the factories where this is being produced and watching. I think, Jared, you just came back from North Carolina a few months ago.
My dad and I go to North Carolina twice a year in October and April to make sure that we're staying on top to see what styles and trends are emerging in the furniture industry and make sure we have the latest and best styles that we have from our manufacturer partners. We also believe in visiting factories as well. I myself have visited an upholstery plant in North Carolina that does 8-way hand-tied construction and custom upholstery from the top down. Which was really amazing to see. Also, earlier this year in May, all of our staff went and visited in May and in March went up and visited Saloon Furniture in Winchendon, Mass, which is a manufacturer of dining room furniture. So everyone could see from the raw wood to the finished product how it's made in Massachusetts and meet the people behind the product, which is really cool.
That is really cool.
It's interesting. We focus on U.S. manufacturers, but not entirely, because there's good values to be found out there outside the U.S. because it's a global economy. One of our suppliers is from Norway, and they do a lot with robotics. And I recently got to take a trip to Norway.
That's cool.
And toured this factory as well. It was pretty cool.
Well, what you said about a global economy and great value is something that also a lot of people don't understand about a local furniture stores. They say, oh, well, I can't afford to go to Simon's, or I can't afford to go to this place because it's going to be more expensive. Well, I know that when I needed a new dishwasher, I think it was probably 6 years ago, I figured out which one I wanted. I researched, I called, and I said, I need this dishwasher. This is the price that I found. You guys do price matching for verifiable prices. And I never came into the shop. I just called. I said, this is what I want. All right, when are you going to deliver it? Thanks. And it showed up in my door, and we were all good. But also from the furniture perspective, I know a friend of mine was in the market for a new sofa, and she said, oh, Sarah, I need a new sofa. What do you think? I go to Simon's. She said, oh, well, we're not looking for something too fancy. I said, go to Simon's. They got you. And she went, and she goes, wow, I really didn't realize not just the quality, but the breadth of price points that you carry.
Yeah, it's the showroom is larger than most people expect when they walk in the front door.
30,000 square feet, apparently.
Yeah, and once they get into the showroom, they realize how big it is, and they're surprised by it. But that enables us to have a pretty good variety of prices and styles for people to choose from.
Yeah, no, so I liked that.
And also with the customization that's available today, you're looking at a dining room set, you can pick 30 or 40 finish options on it. You can make it any size you need. With sofas, there's thousands of fabrics. You can really take every item that we have can be customized in some way. We really focus on the high quality, American made and custom options, so that way when if in your house you can get exactly the way you want, and that's something that the bigger stores can't really do. Where we kind of that sets us apart, where we can get you exactly what you want.
Just like George said with this umbrella fabric that is really good for having kids, and it's wipeable, it's indoor, outdoor, it still has a soft texture, so you can invest in that umbrella fabric to protect that furniture you get. Or if you like more of a softer twill, you can go with the twill option, and you have an entire wall of options, which is why it took me 2 months to pick a sofa and then ended up with a leather sectional, which I love. But it did cost more than $938, and I bet that furniture is still around somewhere. And I think you have a picture. It might be.
Around somewhere.
Seriously, I wish my furniture was made in 1942, because then it might still be holding up instead of some of the other stuff I have. So I know you also have a picture of the mural, or
Yes.
George, what is the word that you said?
Trompe-l'oeil.
The trompe-l'oeil. Here it is. Oh, it just had me next. So anyone driving through downtown Franklin will see this. And this was commissioned in about?
Take a
Ooh,
shot
now
at
you're
it,
testing us,
Craig.
huh?
Yeah.
You can make it up. No one knows.
1990?
No, was it 1990?
No, I don't.
I thought it was in the late 80s.
That's
Jared,
okay.
how old
It's
do you
been
think
up there
you are?
that long, huh? It ought to have a
I
nice
love this. I
patina.
think this it adds so much personality to downtown Franklin, and it has a great patina now that shows the history
Well,
of
the
Franklin.
thing is, those individual buildings were all downtown, and we took the buildings that we wanted to use on the side and put the buildings down. But they were all downtown at one time. We just took pieces and put them together, and then had it set up as a trompe-l'oeil, so that if you were on the bridge at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and you look down across
on
the
June
sun,
22nd,
well,
of
whatever
the
the
third
date was.
sun.
Yeah, I told you that, but I made that up.
Yeah.
But it was at some point, but you couldn't be all year round because it wouldn't work. And you'd look down and you would have thought you saw a little side street in Franklin with old buildings, old storefront
I
buildings.
don't think you can see it,
on
but one of them looks like there's shoes in the window there. And
This-
there was a lady that was parked getting some gas next door and wanted to know where the entrance to the shoe store was. How to get
Oh,
in there.
funny.
Apparently, she probably shouldn't have been driving. Her eyes weren't that good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was a testament to the beauty and the realistic
Yeah,
nature
that's it,
of
that's
the trompe-l'oeil at the time.
And there's some popular Franklin names on the side of the building as well.
Are there?
If you look closely, you'll notice Franklin names.
Yeah, well, to us, there's Simon's on one. Of course, I adopted one of the buildings, put Simon's on it. There wasn't a Simon.
At the turn of the
Of
century?
course.
No, that's not the turn of the century. Yeah, that would have been. I think that's earlier, well earlier than the turn of the century, with those pictures of downtown.
I remember we were talking
Franklin
with somebody from the Historical Society going through the pictures to try and make it look what it would
Yeah.
like
Oh,
it would look
wow.
at the turn of the century.
But
No, I
was-
love
yeah,
seeing
think
that downtown. I really do. I think
even
it's a
earlier
landmark.
Earlier than the turn of the century, but that's what downtown Franklin looked like.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, when I saw those pictures that I was working, downtown Franklin wasn't paved in 1870 or 80, whenever those buildings were there. And I'm not sure, no, I don't remember exactly where each of those buildings were. I just put them all together. And
I think you did a really good job. I like it.
well, I liked it too.
I liked it.
Yeah.
So tell me, so this is as it looks now. Now it has a bit of patina on it. And then
Yes.
now there's this space, and then you also have a picture of the Summer Street frontage.
Yeah, so
Of the
actually,
store.
when
Well,
I
this
was
is the old building. That's,
So this is the old building
that's
that you
the
see from-
building was built
And
in
you can
1931.
Was
you
the
can
extension
see,
on there?
Yeah, so the extension is on the right-hand side of the building going back.
Okay.
And what was it? When did you? So you ended up with my dad and grandfather ended up acquiring the land in the late 1980s for that. That was behind the store and kind of located onto Summer Street. So you planned, and then they both planned in the 1990s that they needed to put an addition on to make the store larger, to be more important, to show more styles, add parking, and become relevant for today's consumer. And they put that addition on in the summer of 1993. While my dad wasn't busy enough with me being born in June of '93. He decided why not open up a furniture showroom
It was
in October
purely
of 1993.
coincidental, I swear.
And so as he was busy building a store, building a house for myself to grow up in and everything, he also put an addition on and grew the company from there. And how many additions have you put on now since then? In
Three.
93?
We did 3 sequences.
wow.
A sequence of 3, I
that's
should
right.
say. 93, 98, and 2003 was the final edition, and we simultaneously built a warehouse at that time down at the end of Chestnut Street.
Yep.
And so that's where we stand now.
All right, so starting from 3,000 square feet on one floor of a downtown building, and your grandfather wondering how you were going to fill it,
Yeah, right.
to 30,000 square feet with
Right.
multiple additions, 3 floors, and a warehouse, which is enormous.
Yes.
Yeah, that about sizes it up.
So I think you're doing okay.
You summed it up pretty well.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome. All right, let's see the frontage of the current space. So there we are now.
This is on Summer Street. So
I
you
love
move
the blue.
around.
I'm kind of partial. It's Shop Franklin blue. I'm branding it. It can be Simon's and Shop Franklin blue. And you've got parking, and then you walk in, and this connects to that whole other section.
That's correct.
Yeah, so from the Summer Street entrance, you get to see the whole showroom, and you can see the big store inside the small store.
Awesome.
What's great too is also having a big parking lot located downtown. We can host a lot of community events like the Strawberry Stroll, the Harvest Stroll, the
Santa Claus
Santa
for
comes
the
in.
holiday
Santa
stroll.
visits during the holiday stroll
Santa's
as well.
always there for the holiday stroll.
And that's really great to get families downtown and have a great space that can really open up. We had some great performers last week at the Strawberry Stroll.
Some young dancers
some young
there.
dancers out there, live entertainment. So it's kind of as we've grown, we haven't really forgot the community as well. We kind of still tie it in through different events and can still use our space quite great for that.
Great. Well, let's learn a little bit more about your furniture, or how to, I think you're going to tell us how to identify quality furniture, the aspects
Do we
of
need our
furniture.
props now? Or
We do need our props now. So,
since Jared's the youngest, we should send him to get it, right?
I agree. All right.
That's how he stayed in business. There's always another generation that's
To do all of the
to do all the
heavy
heavy
lifting.
lifting. Yes.
All right, we are now transitioning to learn a little bit about how furniture is constructed, and you brought in this piece from Whittier Wood. And George, you were saying we found this.
Well, I was saying Jared spotted this in one of the trips down to North Carolina and liked it so much and showed us and convinced us to bring it in. And he, when you talk about somebody who can explain it, he sales trained all our employees on this product when it came in.
And so, good quality furniture is something that's near and dear to me. My father was a woodworker by hobby and had an entire construction with ventilation and all the tools in our basement. And he built some of the furniture in my house before he passed away. And so I grew up learning about, let's see,
English dovetails.
dovetail joints, solid wood, different veneers, how you apply the veneer, different ways, soft closing drawers. So I fancy that I have a little bit of knowledge about wood.
You do this better than me. I should let you do
I
this.
do. You do a showcase.
This company, when we went to look at them, we really liked their product. We thought it was perfect for New England style-wise and scale-wise, and it was nice quality and functional. But we saw this piece that they had in their showroom, and I said to them, we'll buy this if you give us one of these as well.
Really?
Because it's a great way to sales train the staff and to educate customers a little bit on how nicer furniture is made.
So show me, like, what do you see in this piece that explains how things are made?
A couple things. When you're looking at the things, you mentioned solids and veneers. It's not the best barometer of quality. There's good quality solid wood manufacturers and poor quality solid wood companies. And likewise with veneered products. But there's certain things you can do with veneers that you wouldn't be able to do if you didn't have them. This happens to be a product.
And also it makes things very affordable. So working
Sometimes.
with veneers can be affordable.
Sometimes
and if you're
veneers
doing
can be very
inlays
expensive.
or mosaics or things like that.
That's true. What we're looking at here is a lot of times I'll tell people what you can't see sometimes is what separates a good quality product from a poor one. And if there's a lot of twisting and camber to a chest of drawers, it's harder on a small nightstand. Then there's probably something that's been left out of it that stabilizes the piece. And over time, that's not going to hold up. Here we also see that
corner blocking.
Yeah, there's corner blocking and
Interlocking.
and interlocking. A lot of what people look at with quality furniture is drawer construction too. Here we have a nice, I want to say Accuride glide, because Accuride is actually a manufacturer specific name, but it will hold a lot of weight and it makes for a smooth drawer run there too, as well as the English dovetail on the corners. A lot of people talk about French dovetails. That's nice. English is a little bit better, and you can see it there.
Now, what's the difference between French and English? Is English the flared?
It's flared. You'd see it flared underneath, and it locks in. Where these are the individual. Yeah, I don't know if the camera will see that, but the individual.
That looks more like your traditional dovetail, where it looks like the tail of a bird interlocking.
Yep.
A French dovetail is more like the top of this piece, where it's kind of cut, where the piece is just kind of interlocked.
But it would still be flared.
Yeah, it would still be flared, so it doesn't come out. But the English dovetail, and we would have one flare going down. This may have 20 flares, so that way there's much more stability and rigidity to the furniture.
Okay. You kind of know what you're talking about.
A little bit.
You work in the furniture industry?
I come from it.
Sawdust
That's honest
in
my
his
bloods. My veins, yes. the other thing that's nice about this manufacturer is you'll see a lot of companies, what they do is they might cheapen the bottom of your drawers. So as you're stuffing in sweaters to try to get, the eighth sweater in there, all of a sudden you notice, wow, there's a lot more room in there because the drawers fell down through the bottom and you're putting stuff on the floor.
So I don't know if you can see it on, but there's going to be a solid wood bottom
Yeah,
here
it's a solid
instead
wood.
of a board.
Yeah, it's all solid piece of wood, usually a quarter inch, an eighth of an inch to a quarter inch thick on the side, on the bottoms. That way it doesn't drop through. You're not going to have that extra storage space where you push through and you go right to the floor.
Okay.
The other thing that's nice about it as well is their finishing capabilities. When you're selecting furniture, you can take a lot of other companies, dark is a very popular finish. There's no, it's not cherry, it's not maple, it's just dark.
Yep.
And the reason behind that is if you took a piece of furniture and you were to finish it and you just picked out any old board, you'd see knots, you'd see wormholes, you'd see parts of the woods that were rotted, parts that were corrected with Bondo and different types of glue, In order to do a finish that's nice and clear like this, that shows the depth of the wood and the grain, you have to be very choosy in the boards you pick. You can't have any knots in there, you can't have any rot, you can't have anything that has to be repaired. And that's what sets it apart, where they actually have to go through and select individual boards to manufacture.
Right, you can see this on the top. There's this is solid alder, and you can see individual boards here, and that's something that's better quality production as well. If you have one solid piece of wood, the wood can expand and contract and can crack. We have the individual boards that allows for that expansion and contraction.
And in New England, the humidity in houses varies dramatically from season to season, from 20%, 10%, 18% in the winter to 40, 50, 60% in the summer. And that's a lot of stress on wood. And so
wow,
I can
you're
see.
a wealth of information there with the percentages, right?
Did I mention the woodworking? And yeah, no, we have climate control in our house because we actually have a piano that we have to keep in tune. So yeah, so we actually monitor the humidity in our house, and you can see the expansion and the contraction and the wood, and the gaps that are created. And my dad did woodworking, and maybe I installed floors with him once, and all that. So, but we also how it's joined down here, which I don't know if you can see on the camera, but proper jointing techniques down here.
Yeah, and that's what keeps that cabinet from twisting, as well as corner blocks underneath where you can't see it underneath the top and underneath the base.
With a lot of pieces of furniture, whether it's a sofa or a dresser, like my dad was saying, with the twisting, you almost want to be able to pick up your sofa from one corner and the whole thing move with you. If you pick up one side and there's 3 legs on the ground, you got a bit of a problem. Same thing with dressers. It's the same. If you pick up one side and the whole piece doesn't move, it's not joined together well. It's kind of gravity's holding it in place down.
That's a great
versus
way to
having
twist
everything glued and screwed together with corner blocks and wooden dowels that never come out.
Another nice thing you see about drawers and dressers and chest of drawers is the tolerances they have. They can be even all the way around. A lot of times you'll see a drawer will overlap the frame, and that kind of hides that preciseness if they, or if they're not very precise in doing it. Drawers that slide inside the cabinet itself like this have to be more precise in their tolerances, and also that gives you more space and utilization of the space inside the cabinet.
So the beauty is that you guys do all this work for me. So all I have to do is show up at your warehouse or your store and say, I need a dresser, and I'll know that you've already done all this homework for me.
It's already been vetted through our quality process, where it's got to be it's got to be quality, custom, or American made, or all 3.
And you stand behind it.
And we stand behind it. We've actually thrown out manufacturers and product because it doesn't meet that specification. And we sit there and ask ourselves, what is this doing here? Because would someone buy this furniture and take it home, and would they be happy?
Would we put it in our own homes?
Yes.
If I wouldn't put it in my own home, I wouldn't sell it to you. And we don't want to have furniture that has problems, so we want to have better quality furniture because we're the guys that answer the phone if you have a problem with your sofa.
And you live in Franklin, and I'll find you.
That's right.
Yes.
Seek me out.
There's not many stores where you can call up with the name is in the front of the building and say, I'd like to speak to a Simon.
Exactly.
And you get one.
And 7 days a week. There's one of us.
Absolutely.
There's one of us in the building.
There's always a Simon there.
It's one of the great things about owning a small business. Great being relative is you're always
that's
on
right.
call
It's
and you're
good or
always
bad.
accountable.
People-
It is.
People call
You don't
up
get
and
much
speak.
rest.
You got a complaint?
but-
Call a Simon, right?
But from what I understand, I haven't heard many complaints. And just recently, someone was saying how they were going to take a furniture delivery and something happened, and they weren't able to take the delivery, and you guys held it at the warehouse and said, you know what, call us when you're ready. How great was that? You can't do that with an online retailer or a big box. Say, let us know when you're ready. And these great delivery staff that you guys have come and set it up, and they know what they're doing. They do it properly. And
they're also our employees. A lot of stores will farm out to a subcontractor.
Great point.
We employ everyone from start to finish. So when you're from the delivery drivers to the office staff to the people scheduling your delivery to the sales staff, it's all a Simons employee the entire way.
that's a great difference.
So you never have any contractors in your home.
Nice.
And our delivery staff is local. Some of them live in here in Franklin as well. Which
That's
is
good to know. So, I think I know everything I ever wanted to know about Simon's Furniture. I'm so glad you guys came in. George, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting us.
I want to hear more about the horse-drawn carriages. So
His
I'll
schedule
just
is
look
really
through it.
busy today, so it's a, you know.
I can
you had
only
to squeeze you in.
imagine. I can only imagine. Who's working at Simon's
Yeah,
today?
I don't know. My phone rang a couple times on the way here. Hopefully
See,
it wasn't a problem.
I'm sure it wasn't. It's Simon's Furniture. There's never a problem.
Never.
All right. Well, thank you guys
Thanks,
for
Sarah.
being
Thanks for
here.
having us,
And
Sarah.
thank you, everyone, for joining us. And go out and shop Franklin.
This program was made possible by your Franklin friends and neighbors. Good folks just like you. Thanks for supporting Franklin TV. And thanks for watching.